Hey, how you fine folks doing? We're out here again in the still unnamed, as of now, NEcology official folding kayak. Out here on a nice brackish estuary in southern Massachusetts. And unfortunately, what I think has happened, the species that I came down here looking for, I think has been temporarily inundated. They just got 6 inches of rain on Friday, and I'm thinking this river may have thrown its banks. The tidal river, so fluctuations in water are normal, but I think this is much higher than it should be, and I might even be a little early for the species I'm looking for. But needless to say, we're gonna get some stuff. We're gonna maybe shoot a short little video here because there's still plenty of interesting stuff going on, and I do think that I saw the plant I was looking for, Ericaceae parkeri, and I don't believe it was in bloom. But we're gonna patrol around here for a while, give it an hour or two, be down on the South Shore all day today, and hopefully see a couple nice things. I did already find one of my target species, not in bloom, but shortly about to be in bloom. So I'm a little apprehensive, but we're gonna head to point west, and we may have a better chance of seeing it in bloom. And it's generally, what is it, July 12th right now, generally a late July, early August bloomer, but it's certainly gonna be out for us to at least make a note of, and I'll get it in this video just in case I go to the other spot and it's still not in bloom. We don't have to waste too much time there. In any case, first species I'm going to show you today is this impressive guy right here. This is Pontederia cordata. All right, despite its very exotic and showy look, this is an incredibly common and widespread species around the Americas. It gets all the way down to South America. In wetland communities, you'll see it growing on the edges of habitats like this, brackish water everywhere around these like a south coast kettle hole pond, really a pretty freshwater marshes. Really a very versatile and widespread species. Get in there. You can see that bilateral symmetry. Entire thing is pretty fuzzy, which is interesting, for a wetland plant. Get up there. I'm in the kayak, so it's a little difficult for me to really pull this thing over. I want to get some, good close-up shots. The floral morphology without dropping my, phone in the water. You can kind of make out the reproductive bits there on the bottom. All right. Bilateral symmetry. Yeah, I never really appreciated how fuzzy these things are. Weird looking plant. Leaves look like that. There's a whole colony of them. You'll see them just everywhere, dotting, wetland communities. So Pontederiaceae, as far as I'm aware, it's the sole representative of that family in New England. Family is Campanulaceae. So same family, or same order, order is Campanulaceae. So same order as like Tradescantia, same order as Comelina, the dayflower, which are, vary from native to invasive depending on what you are. And this guy, just an absolute powerhouse for the native pollinators. Going to town on the thing. Pickerelweed is one of the common names, which comes from the habitat. And, common enough, but a beautiful plant. Very important to the ecology of numerous different, specific ecosystems. And it's, it's just a beautiful plant. Got a little skipper or something hanging out on there. I don't know shit about butterflies. Don't take my word for it. But let's see what else we got going on here. I saw an interesting Lysimachia. Maybe there'll be some Ludwigias around here. I saw a cardinal flower starting to bloom. Got a few things to talk about. We'll get a video out of this one way or the other, which is how you gotta think about this sometimes. Just because you pull up to a life lesson for you, if you're getting into this, you're gonna have this numerous times. Sometimes more often than not, you pull up to a spot. What you're looking for is either not in bloom, you can't find it. It's you got your phenology off, it's just not out that year. I encourage you to always poke around, especially if what you were looking for is already an interesting species, because with few exceptions, interesting species, tend to enjoy interesting habitats. World wisdom there. Anyway, Pontederia cordata. We'll probably be seeing this multiple times today, but I just figured I'd cover it now. Get the nice showy shit in there for you right off top. Okay, well here you go right here. There's your Lobelia cardinalis, all right? Cardinal flower. Very, again, nothing rare or too rare. Just needs the specific, or not even specific, any sort of riverine, estuary, wetland, whatever. You could find this growing. You can also grow it in your yard as long as you keep the thing, wet enough in a garden. Does really well, obviously, in habitats like this, but if you have it in the garden, needs the full sun, needs to be kept pretty wet. All right, so Lobelia cardinalis here. Let's get this guy down over here. Oh, God. Very prolific and productive plants in the family Campanulaceae. All right, so same family as bellflowers. And, well, if you're in New England, most of the species in that family are going to be lobelias. Lobelia inflata is like a common, forest floor species. Lobelia syphilitica is another one. Oh, someone's coming in for a landing, I think. But these are fascinating. Of course, the camera's going to... I don't know why you're having so much trouble focusing on something. Hang on, let's get my hand back there. That always helps. Yeah, there you go. So, Lobelia cardinalis, blah, 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 Lobelia. This is like the hummingbird plant of the summer. I'm telling you. Zoom out a little bit. All right, that's better. So that little doodad up there at the top, okay, kind of center frame right now, these are distantly related to Asteraceae. So one of the common things that they're going to have going on there with their actual little flower tubes there is that thing. God, we're really going to have to work on this today. That little gray thing there, those are the stamens facing inward. So what happens here is the female part, the stamen, which is like that little fluffy thing you see at the very tip, that's the female part. Come on, there's got to be a better way to do this. All right. That little fluffy thing right there pushes the pollen out from inside, presents it on the female part, gets dusted off, and only after the pollen is gone does the thing become receptive to another pollinator, okay? Asters do the same thing with their little aggregate flowers, okay? So it has 5 petals. 3 of them are pointed down, 2 of them are off to the side. That's what every lobelia has. And then these beautiful spidery calyces, whatever you want to say. And then the, I believe that the fruits mature right down there, okay? Alternate leaves, kind of leathery, looks a lot more, looks like it's built for the wetlands, is built for the wetlands. Sorry about the shoddy camera work there. I don't know why I didn't want to focus on this thing. But as you can see, I mean, there's a whole little grove of them here. That little tall guy right there is one. There's one. I've got one here next to me, a small little guy, just hanging out. Beautiful plant. Shame I couldn't get the thing in focus for you. Moving right along. Okay, this little one's a new one for me. So this is a species of Samolus. Samolus parviflorum or Samolus varlandii subspecies parviflorum, depending on which taxonomy you use. So if I'm going off the floor of New England, this is in its whole own family. Theophrastaceae, I think is what it was. And if you're using INAT's taxonomy, so INAT has this as a separate species, but in the family Primulaceae, in the subfamily Theophrastoideae. I hope I'm getting that right. Seaside brookweed. So this is another one of those ones that likes the brackish, flats like this. But I guess looking at the distribution of it, it's S4 here in Massachusetts, which means it's generally not the most common thing. And that's the most common it gets in New England. S1 in like Vermont, New Hampshire, which makes sense just given the fact, what the habitat looks like. It occurs along the coast, I'll put up the distribution map just in New England because the one for North America looks like a mess. So I guess there's a very closely related species out there in Europe that, depending on your taxonomy, is lumped together with this one, and they're different subspecies, but INAT seems to consider them different species in the family Primulaceae. Our own flora here in New England puts them in their own family, all right, not just that weird, I can't even pronounce it, subfamily, and it also considers it the same species as the European one. We'll put this guy back. Pick them up because he was so small. As you can see, yeah, those are the basal rosettes of it, okay? and it's growing, you know, emergent along the banks. You can see those little racemes of flowers. Fascinating plant. Never even heard of it. Never heard of that subfamily. Ooh, a pillbug. Look at the isopod. Oh, he's so cute. I love isopods. Never had heard of it until today, so I figured I'd give it a shout out. Samolus parviflorus or Samolus varlandi, depending on your chosen taxonomy. Got a nice Thalictrum pubescens over there too. Yeah, it looks like this definitely got flooded out. We'll probably end up turning around in a second here. I'll show you this cool, hopefully native Lysimachia that I saw. And then again, plenty of other invasives growing along the bank here that I've seen, and that Lysimachia I only saw growing on 1 or 2 spots. So I am hopeful that it is a native Lysimachia. And then that lily I saw growing on the banks of the river. Again, hopefully Lilium superbum and not like an invasive like Lilium lanceolatus. I got to go get a closer look at the thing before I make that distinction. We'll be back with you in 1 second. Oh, so now this is nice. Look, you got Thalictrum pubescens coming up underneath. Beautiful rhododendron. Native rhododendron too. Rhododendron viscosum. See if I can get closer to it, get some pictures of the thing. All right, there you go. It's a bit awkward to film. I'm still standing in the boat. But Rhododendron viscosum, the swamp azalea. All right, looks worse for wear. It's more of a June bloomer. A lot of the rhododendrons bloom early. This is a southern trending rhododendron, reaching the northern extent of its range up here in New England. In contrast to some of the species like Rhododendron canadense, Rhododendron groenlandicum, yada, 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 reaching their southern extent in New England. New England's got an interesting mix of like southern species like Rhododendron maximum, Pernophyllum, Periclaminoides, as well as, you know, boreal and Arctic species like Groenlandicum and even Rhododendron luponicum up there in the presidentials. But, you know, interesting cross section. Rhododendrons, they like it everything from like tropical, like upland tropical habitats. I mean, not in New England, but I'm talking like in Asia. Very, you know, it's a huge genus that's all around the northern hemisphere. New England, they get quite a few species, but, you know, like out there, and like I think India is like the center of diversity for them. They got like well over close to 1,000 species in the genus. Ericaceae is the family, and oh god, what else was I going to say about this thing? It smells incredible when it's actually in full bloom, but these guys, as you can tell, are wrapping up rather quickly. But yeah, rhododendron. There's one for almost every. There's a rhododendron for almost every habitat in New England until you get on like the super xeric. Like if you get in like the xeric sites, you know, like upland Metacomet area, Cape Cod, you'll see this species on Cape Cod, but more in the wet areas, not in the dunes. And then of course you get some nice ones up in the mountains, and even a handful of like introduced ones. But yeah, interesting little thing about them. There's some that are southern trending and some that are northern trending, and there's relatively few in between. Oh god, I'm gonna slip out of this thing. All right, let's sit down before I fall in this absolutely vile, you know, basically flood water. And I think we're gonna turn back and cover maybe 1 or 2 other things. But there you go, rhododendron viscosum, swamp azalea, lovely one for you. Oh, look it's an old friend. This vining thing covering the bank here. It's all Mikania scandens, I believe. So it's a vining member of the sunflower family Asteraceae. Specifically in the tribe Eupatoriae, which if you've been following the videos for any length of time, you know that I absolutely love that subfamily there, or that tribe, I should say, not a subfamily, it's a tribe. I got a whole video covering this guy when he's actually in bloom. He's probably a few months out. I mean, this will be blooming in September. Invasive in many parts of the tropical world, but kind of an unusual plant here in New England. Gets all the way down to like Central America. It's native here, but it's just barely like the northern, you know, this is like as far north as it goes. It's like sea level coastal Massachusetts. All right, you head south, comes a bit more common. It's like a midsummer bloomer in most parts of the South. In New England, it takes all year for the thing to get going. That's something you have to, it's like a little thing that you should know about, you know what I mean? The further north you go, if you have a species that occurs in Florida and it occurs in New England, which you do get species that do that, generally speaking, the phenology of that plant is going to be set back, okay? So if something is blooming, if something is blooming in like April in Florida or Georgia, wherever the hell, Georgia's a more realistic example, in Georgia, all right, it's probably not going to be in bloom in New England until like the summer. So this plant will bloom in like May down in Georgia. It doesn't bloom till September, or like August, September up here in New England, okay? I can't see any flower heads on the thing right now, but it's a cool vining member of the family Eupatoriae. I think it's S4 in Massachusetts, S3 or S4. It's not of conservation concern. It's just not the most common thing. It's one of those ones that's, you know, it's basically a weed throughout much of its range, but in New England, it becomes one of those cool indicator species of being down in these almost like swampy, you know, riverine areas, for lack of a better term. All right, let's go see if we can find, if I can go re-find this lily. Take a couple pictures of the Mikania, and we'll skedaddle. Okay, here's that Lysimachia I was talking about. So evidently, this is not another new plant to me. This is Lysimachia hybrida. This is called like yellow lowland loosestrife or something like that. Lowland loosestrife. It's a Lysimachia. I was under the impression we had you didn't have that many of these in New England, but apparently I'm wrong. It's a whole bunch of cool native Lysimachia. So Lysimachia, yeah, look at this thing. It's flowering under the water because I'm guessing it. I don't know how high this comes up. This evidently, you know, tolerates lives in wetlands, but Lysimachia, most of them, if not all of them, is a fascinating genus, okay? These flowers you see don't actually produce like nectar. What they do is they produce an oil, and then the bees, I think Euglosian bees is the term, come and collect the oil and do, you know, whatever the fuck it is that they do with it, okay? Lysimachia, you can always really tell apart, even when not in bloom. They have like the really distinctive buds, usually coming out over the whorled leaves. They generally do have whorled leaves, and just a really specific construction to them. They are beautiful. A lot of them get used in horticulture. Some of them are really common. I think a couple of them are like invasive in the U.S., but we have a lot of native ones. Like a lot of them, like, you know, the wetland habit. Some of them, like Lysimachia quadrifolia, like a little bit more dry and xeric. There's a tufted loosestrife I haven't seen that I really want to see. That's apparently a super cool plant to see. Ciliaris you get around, you know, just generally speaking, quite a number of very interesting Lysimachia. They're fascinating because they're pretty, you don't usually see more than one species occurring in its location. They're pretty habitat specific. You get a nice dodder. See that yellow vine right there? That's dodder. That's a parasitic plant in the family Convolvulaceae, in the morning glory family. Could not, for the life of me, tell you what specific species it is, even if I could get up close to get good pictures of the flowers. But Lysimachia, you know, habitat specific, decent diversity in New England. You know, what else do you want me to say about the thing? New to me, have not seen this one before. And let's go see if we can find this lily and potentially get out of here. If I do find the Ericaceae, I'll put that towards the beginning, because I am going to patrol around here. But I wanted to show you this, and I wanted to go show you this is lily, which I'm hoping is is the native Lilium superbum. One last good shot of the flowers there. 5 petals. Look at the little tip the flower petals have there. That's interesting. Thought it was a Ludwigia at first, but Ludwigia, though most of them, not the one I like, Ludwigia alternifolia, has alternate leaves. Most of them have opposite leaves, which could almost resemble whorled leaves from a distance, and they have the same, you know, bright yellow flowers, but those would have 4 petals instead of 5 on the loosestrife. That's enough about this guy. Cool plant. Another new one for me today. See, this is what I mean. Just because, again, you go out looking for rare shit and you don't find it, poke around the habitat. You're going to find other cool stuff, including stuff you might not have seen before. Hadn't seen that Samolus, whatever it was. Never even heard of that. And a nice new loosestrife to me. All right? I'm going to keep on rolling right along here. Rolling. How's that, what's that Limp Bizkit song? Roll it. What? Whatever he says. Listening to new metal in the car, you know, you got it sometimes. Okay, so indeed it would seem we found Lilium superbum, but he's not in bloom, unfortunately. Maybe another week or so. Lilies are fickle with their phenology, and the deer love munching them. So Lilium philadelphicum is one I've done a video on. We also have Lilium canadens. So those are our 3 species of true lily in New England. Philadelphicum is pretty widespread, and then Superbum is southern trending, and Canadense I think is northern trending. I've seen a lot of them not in bloom or munched down, and then even if you do get them to flower without the deer chewing them apart, you can see that one's starting to change color down over there. Those little pods of the flowers in bud, they'll turn orange right before they open up. Those are the tepals on the outside there. Cool monocots. Yada yada yada. What was I saying? The deer will either munch them down, or even if you do catch them in bloom, the flowers fade very quickly. It's a summer plant that behaves almost like an ephemeral. So these bloom I guess late July into early August. So we missed them not a little too early, but I mean they're here, and that's still cool even in bud. I mean, look at the architecture of that, just whirls of leaves up a leathery glaucous stem, and the thing puts out huge beautiful orange flowers when it's when it's blooming. All right, I think that's gonna do it for us here on this lovely somewhat flooded river. As you can see, these things are growing emergent, and they don't normally do that, I don't think. But we're gonna go by another spot that these apparently grow at. Maybe we'll have better luck further west. But in any case, I'm gonna cut it off here. If I do find the pipewort that I'm looking for, I'll put that at the beginning, and I'll just explain the situation. I don't think, with things being with they are, that's a plant that's sensitive just to high water level. I don't think they're going to be out given the current situation with the water level. So we'll leave it there for now.